Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Schenkel, and I'm the Vice President of the Board of Trustees for Albany Independent School District. As such, we are your elected volunteers in education. And the hardest job that we have, or the toughest job that we have, is selecting a superintendent. On April the 17th, the Board of Trustees voted to name Dr. LaTanya Goffney as the lone finalist of the Superintendent of Schools of Albany. She is a native of Cold Springs, Texas, and began her career as a language arts teacher in Cold Springs. She served as an assistant principal and principal in the Cold Spring Oakhurst before serving as that district's superintendent for 5 years. Dr. Goffney earned her bachelor's degree in history and English, a master of education degree in administration, and a doctorate of education degree in educational leadership, all from Sam Houston State University. In 2013, she was the recipient of the Distinguished Administrator of the Year Award by the faculty of Sam Houston State University's College of Education. Dr. Goffney was named one of only 22 members of the 2012-2013 class of Phi Delta Kappa International Emerging Leaders. The chapter of Emerging Leaders program recognizes top educators from across the world. Dr. Goffney has been superintendent of the Luncheon ISD since 2013. I can't believe this, but she has 19 years of experience in the field of education. And Dr. Goffney will be replacing our longtime superintendent, Dr. Bamberg, and Dr. Blanson, who are both retiring after their service here. Dr. Goffney will be the first African American to serve as superintendent of schools. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Dr. LaTanya Goffney.
I am very excited to be here, and I'm so thankful for all of our board members, because if you never go through the process of selecting a leader who's going to represent the entire organization, it's a strenuous process, it's a tough process, it requires a lot of thought and a lot of processing. And so I'm appreciative, and I'd like to publicly acknowledge all of our board members who are here today. I know I see Mr. Shanklin, I see Mrs. Esparza, Dr. Garcia, they're here, and others wanted to be here, but they had conflicts. So please give our board members a round of applause. I'd also like to thank Mr. Melanson, because he was the first one to reach out to get me to come to an event like this, so that I could meet people from the community and be able to share some information. And when I originally met him, I didn't know him. And actually, it was through Facebook that I met one of his reporters who reached out to me, actually. Miss Rebecca, where is she? I met him through her. And meanwhile, whenever I was saying Mr. Melanson's name, everybody just would get this certain look on their faces. And I didn't really understand. And so, during the transition, and again, I applaud the work of Dr. Bamberg, who has done an extraordinary job, and I'm so excited to be able to replace someone who I consider a trailblazer. But she said, well, let me just tell you, he said that he heard that you were spiritual, and he doesn't like preachers, and he wanted me to let you know that he uses bad language. And I was like, in public? And she was like, yes. I couldn't really wrap my head around it. And so, in talking with Mr. Shanklin in preparation, he said, those things are kind of true, but let me tell you. And he's been asking me, what have people told me about you? What have people told me about you? And this is what I'll tell you. and talking with Dr. Davis and Dr. Chapa and others from the administrative team as we traveled to neighbors' home and going to see different schools, they told me about Mr. Melanson. They told me that there are times when students are selling their animals, and it's Dr. Melanson who supports and gives back to those students. Dr. Chapa was sharing a story with me about how a teacher was able to take a group of her kids out to his ranch and do different things like that. So I can publicly say that I appreciate Dr. Melanson's heart. So let's give him a round of applause. He's not a doctor. He's not a doctor. He's speaking those things that he's not a doctor. So when I was preparing, I wanted to know, what should I talk about? What should I speak about? I'm in the middle of my transition. I'm looking, listening, and learning, and trying to figure out how we're going to transition here when my contract begins July 1st. And so I asked Mr. Melanson, he said, tell them about you. Tell them about you. Tell them about you. And be brief. Well, actually, you can talk all day if you want to. I mean, you know, it kind of goes between be brief and you can talk all day. So, but he emphasized, tell them about you. And ironically enough, I just recently began to talk about my story after I was named Texas Superintendent of the Year. I had a colleague who called me and she said, use that moment to talk about things that matter. And many times, and I know I've hugged several of you, and I know you'll understand what I'm talking about. Many times when we've arrived, when we're living the dream, we forget how we made it over. And so, since I was named, I've been telling the story. And it's a hard story to tell, but it's framed in the fact that every day, when my colleagues call and my family members call, they say, how are you doing? And I always say, living the dream. Because I don't know if you know it, but I'm living the dream, and just in case you didn't know it, you're living somebody's dream as well. But I'm living the dream, living the dream, living the dream, living the dream, living the dream. And when I think about it, as I'm standing here looking at each of you, and y'all are hanging on my every word, and I do appreciate it, but I'm thinking about the pride that people who came before me must feel as I'm standing here, because I'm truly, truly living the dream, because there's nothing about my past that would predicted that I would be standing before you leading one of the largest organizations, educational entities in the state. Nothing. Because it didn't start out as a dream, it actually started out as a nightmare. You see, my mom, she was 15 when she gave birth to me, and she got pregnant with me when she was 14. And I have a 14-year-old daughter, so it's sometimes hard for me to kind of swallow, but it does help me to put it in perspective. And she made a lot of bad choices, a lot of bad choices. When I tell you I've experienced poverty that many of you can't even imagine. Poverty that is, we say we're poor, we can't go shopping. We say we're poor, we can't buy the car that we like, but I'm talking about poverty. Poverty where you don't have indoor plumbing and you have to carry water from a neighbor. Poverty where you don't have electricity and you're borrowing from somebody. I don't even know if you're contributing. And poverty where you really don't know where your next meal is coming from. And then when you're dealing with youth, when you're dealing with a parent who, again, don't judge my mom, she did the best she could. She could have aborted me, but she did. And then we know sometimes when you're dealing with poverty, you have limited opportunities to make bad choices. So she chose a stepdad that was extremely abusive, very abusive in the home. And at one point, he had beaten her so badly that my grandmother said, enough is enough. And I tell you, how many of you got a good grandma? So my grandmother, in 5th grade, she came and she said, you can live in this situation, but I'm taking Latanya Goffney. I was Latanya McGowan at the time. And I moved in with my grandmother. Let me tell you where my grandmother goes. I tell you, I didn't know at the time that we were poor because I was excited to have electricity. to have running water inside the house, to have a toilet that flushed. So I was excited about those things. But my grandmother, I learned so much from her. She worked as a housekeeper, a domestic for a local Anglo family. And from my grandmother, I learned the value of hard work. My grandmother never missed a day of work. She worked late hours, went early, worked all night to take care of this family. And when I wanted to be a cheerleader, my grandmother worked extra by mowing the lawn so that she could pay for me to be a cheerleader. When I wanted to go on a field trip, my grandmother worked extra for this family so that I would be able to go. So my grandmothers, very important. In addition, I went to a little country school, very country school. It's not known anywhere, but what I remember the most is the fact that I had educators who treated me like I was smart, who expected me to act smart, and who just literally spoke life into me. Because when you come from an environment that I can describe in more detail, but that's not the point. When you come from an environment where there's despair, where there's no hope, when you go to school, you want to have people who speak life into you. And I was fortunate to have teachers who said, "You're smart." It was back when we had a building group, and we put me in a smart group, but I didn't even know what the smart group was. In addition, as we went on through school, I was encouraged by not just the teacher, the counselors, and the principals to participate in extracurricular activities. And that took my mind off of my current circumstances. In addition, when it was time to prepare to go to college, I actually enrolled to go to the Navy because I didn't know how I was going to pay for college. But I had a counselor, Miss Davis, Dr. Davis, I had a counselor, Miss Allen, who called me and said, you don't have to go to the Navy. You can go to college. I was number 8 in my class, but because no one in my school or my home had gone to college. My grandmother had a 5th grade education. My mother didn't graduate, so there was a generations of lack of focus on education. But Miss Allen, she said, you don't have to go to the Navy. Well, I saw the Navy as my way out. I was like, I don't have money to go to college. She said, you're in the top 10. You can go to any college in the state. And Miss Allen, we stayed late to do the FAFSA report. We completed college scholarship applications, and she did this on her own time. And we were able to get everything in. I got more scholarships than anybody. And I went to Sam Houston, where our Sam Houston alumni, there was some Bearcats in the house. But educators were extremely important. So my nightmare is turning into a dream because I go off to Sam Houston and I start working at a correctional. I was a correctional officer, and I was determined at the wind unit. How did you know that? I was a correctional officer for 2.5 years at the wind unit in administrative segregation. So I don't think that was you, but I was. Worked there for 2.5 years, and initially I thought I wanted to be an attorney or a lawyer. I was just trying to survive. And long story short, I was a criminal justice major, but I looked around and saw a lot of people in gray, and that's what you call correctional officers who had criminal justice degrees. So I did not want to do that. And I decided one night when talking with one of my friends that I was going to be a teacher. I thought about the people who had made the biggest difference in my life and who had changed the trajectory of my life, and it was teachers. So I ended up, while in college, though, I met my high school sweetheart. We had separated. You know how we didn't have cell phones back in the 90s. So when my husband, he was 2 or 3 years ahead of me, so when he went off to college, we didn't keep contact because we just didn't do well. And so we were separated for about 3 years, and I was about in college and met up with him, and so my dream is coming. It's the pieces of the dream are coming to pass because all this little country girl ever wanted was to have a normal family. And my husband, it is just as vanilla as it gets. Bless his heart, he has never had to worry about anything. His dad started a ministry, worked fervently to make sure that his wife didn't have to work, who had actually gone to become a nurse, but she stayed home. She cooked them breakfast, she cooked them lunch, she attended all of his events, and I just didn't get that. I mean, his mom was at everything. Even when he was in college, Bearcat friends, if he called his mother, she would cook his food and bring it to him. And she had another son who was at Prairie View, so she would make a stop at Sam Houston and then make another stop at Prairie View. When I tell you it was as vanilla as it got, never suffered through anything. I was so excited about the Goffney family, and so my dream is coming to pass. I'm a first generation college student, and I have my high school sweetheart who's proposed to me, and I'm going to get married and join this vanilla family. We're both teachers. We're about to live the dream. Live the dream, and we're excited. We're excited because one thing I'll tell you about my husband, and I know how Mr. Malone's son feels about preachers, but honestly, my husband doesn't just preach behind the pulpit. I tell everyone, if anybody's going to heaven, my husband's going to heaven. He's a good guy. So give him a round of applause. As God would have it, though, when you're living the dream, how many of you know that in life, sometimes things happen and you either allow them to make you bitter or you allow them to make you better. And so I'm planning this American dream. I was one of those OCD. I had my plan. I defeated the odds. I graduated from college, and it's time. We bought our first house, a single-wide trailer. And it was not a double-wide. We were happy. We had our own lot in this little bitty subdivision, and it was still a dream because there was a brick house on this side and a double. It was all kind of, it was just a gentrified community. But we had our single wide, we were happy, and it was time to start planning our family. And I wanted to have that family because I had a mother. I wanted to be a mother. And our first child was born with some significant issues. He has a chromosome deletion, 1p36, and I'll never forget. Mothers, you know how that feels when your dreams are just technically just flashed up, and then again, we're living in a nightmare type of situation. And so the good news is that if it was not for my son, I wouldn't be standing here. Because after he was born, I was a teacher, and I was one of those teachers, Miss Connie. I was standing in the teacher's lounge, and I was running everything anyway. I was the English department chair, I was a chair sponsor, I was president of site base, I was leading different things, but I liked being with the people and leading from behind and supporting the principal and the counselors and everyone else. But I needed something to take my mind off my son and his limitations. And so my husband and I talked, and so I decided to go back to school. And again, had I not had my son, because I love being a chair sponsor, I probably, again, would be standing before you. So when I became a principal, it was important to me twofold. Number one, I recognized that it was education that changed the trajectory of my life. In addition, I recognized that in my son, he can't do. He has a chromosome deletion with some significant delays. He is 18 years old, but he is the equivalent of a 5-month-old. And so my son can't do. And so I would spend time with children and actually have those conversations with them. There's some that they can't do. And here you are, you won't do. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And so when I would talk with parents, when I would talk with others, I will talk about the importance of making sure that we add value to every kid, because my son's story doesn't end there. That's why I love public ed. Because in public education, we educate all. We can't pick and choose, we can't cherry pick, we can't say we like this one, it's in GT, but we don't like this one, it's in special ed. And so I'm excited about the opportunities I've had as an educator, because in every role that I've played, I've made an intentional point to add value to all kids. And so the dream starts coming together. And as I would say, I've been blessed. I get to live the dream. And it's my focus to make sure that the dream was not only created for me, it's created for the generations who come after me. And so it's our goal, our desire, my focus, as I will leave this for one time long because I have to give him the microphone, but but when you see me, I work as hard as I work. I do what I do. People say you do too much. You got to calm down. You got to do this, but I can't. Because I recognize if it had been for Miss Allen, the counselor, if she needed to calm down and go home at 3:30, I wouldn't have got accepted into college. If it wasn't for Mr. LaFleur, who was the campus principal when I was in school, if he calmed down and didn't do everything that he could do, then he wouldn't have worked on weekends to expose us to something outside of our small town. If our teachers calmed down and just did what was, required by the contract, then I wouldn't be standing here today. And so we owe it because we stand under the shades of trees that we didn't plant. Yes. Yes. We owe it. We didn't plant. And when we think about that fact, we got to do all we can while we can. And so I will leave you with this. People have asked, well, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help? How can we move forward? I'm transitioning now, and so I'm being really intentional about learning all that I can about Aldine and the rich history. And so talking with each of you and being in your presence is very powerful. So I'm looking, listening, and learning. But meanwhile, what I would ask each of you to do is just continue to do what you can. When you come up and you say, oh, I'm mentoring kids, or I'm providing this, I'm partnering, I'm giving teachers an opportunity to bring their children to our ranch so that our kids can be exposed to different things, I'm supporting children. Continue to do what you can. But see, my grandmother said, to whom much is given, much is required. And so when you think about that, we can't just sit back. As excited as I am, as hard as I plan to work, I can't do it by myself. It starts with the board, of course, our administrators, our leaders, but it also is a responsibility of the community. And I'm so proud of the fact that Acres Home, the community, has maintained and sustained its intact focus on making a difference for children. So I want to encourage everyone to continue to do what you can. In addition, as we get into the focus and I start thinking, we come up with our vision and how we're going to move forward, I encourage you all to support the vision. Support the vision. I was talking to a group the other day, and I believe this with everything in me. I don't mind talking about the problems, but please, please bring some solutions. Yeah. Bring some solutions. So support the vision, and as I think about that, there's many ways that we can do many things, many ways, but if we all come together, my grandmother also said that where there's unity, there is strength. And so we all come together and continue to move forward. There's no reason why Aldine won't continue to produce the nation's best. And last, but certainly not least, I've been telling everybody, if you can't do anything else, if you can't come out and mentor, if you can't provide and support with resources, if you can't do something else because of your limitations, the one thing that you can do is you can pray. They haven't, they keep saying they took prayer out of school, but as long as you have people who believe positively, prayer is still in school. Let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, you don't believe in prayer. Just send some positive thoughts. There's a book out there that talks about the power of positive thoughts. So let's, if you don't pray, send positive thoughts. It's so easy to be negative and to tear down. But I tell you, because I'm a product of it, when you speak life into people, you speak life into a situation, you begin to see things change. And so as I think about the fact that I've shared with you that I get to live a dream and I'm proud of it, we got to remember Martin Luther King, he stood for something. He would be 89, January 15, 1929, he would be 89 years old. And if he were here, I'd love to end with his prayer. He said, use me, God. Show me how to take who I am, who I can be, what I can do, and use it for a purpose that's greater than myself. Come on, let that resonate with you. Use me, God. Show me how to take who I am, what I can do, and use it for a purpose that's greater than myself. Thank you all for your time and thank you.